Welcome back to the Shadburn Show. After months of being gone, you might notice if you're watching on YouTube that we have a guest on the show.
Yeah, and I'm trying so hard not to jostle her.
It is
She's probably going to sleep through it, but
she's 3 weeks old today.
Yep.
Everyone, fans of the show, welcome Cadence and Shadburn to the world.
Welcome to the Shadburn Show. I'm wearing a nice little robe and
courtesy of your mother-in-law.
Yeah. I forgot that you do YouTube, so I was like, oh no, I look so weird.
I was like, you might want to throw on some sweatpants. So
which I did.
Gonna be on camera.
Yeah.
We wanted to give our birth story. Mm-hmm. We wanted to talk about
finally
just what happened and this spiritual event that happened.
Yes.
Not just a physical event, but
it was all spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
We are forever changed.
Yeah. I tried to tell the birth story on Instagram, but I didn't upload it because it didn't flow. I was like, this just needs to come from us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the day of birth happened on July 22nd.
Yep. Her due date, I was 40 weeks.
Yeah, which apparently is a pretty rare thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we got it right on the day.
Yeah, well, did we or did she?
She did. Well, also a membrane sweep did.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Should I tell the first part of it and then hand the baton over to you?
It's kind of just...
Or are we just going back and forth?
Let's just go back and forth because I've got some crazy perspective, obviously.
Yeah.
And
well, let me start it off.
You were the MVP. So, I mean, everything that you say is probably going to matter the most. I'm just
but there was a lot that I
probably
didn't
had courtside seats, if I'm being real.
Yeah.
If we're going to
but
play
there's
this out
stuff
like a
you
game.
saw that I didn't see. There's stuff
True.
you know that I just didn't care to know.
There's
Didn't want to know.
also stuff I was feeling that you weren't feeling as well. You felt everything, but I was in a spiritually different place. I felt like I was in a part of the universe that people don't get to be in often or at all.
Yeah. Well, we should try to keep it concise but thorough because we don't know when she's going to wake up. She's been asleep for a while.
Yeah, this is also a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. So okay, so basically I was 40 weeks, July 22nd, which was her due date, and the day before I had a doctor appointment and I wasn't really feeling any contractions yet, literally no sign of labor, and something that midwives or nurses or doctors can do to kind of kickstart labor is this thing called a membrane sweep. And they basically go in and kind of sweep your cervix 10 times in a circular motion. And it's supposed to soften the skin or whatever. And it kickstarts labor. So I don't know how they figured that out.
Well, I was right after you told me you got out of the doctor's office and they did that, I looked up what that was because I'd never heard of that. And then the first thing that popped up was membrane sweeps have a 90% success rate of inducing labor within 12 to 48 hours.
Wow.
And I was like, so
we're going to have a baby?
This is real? This is going to actually happen.
But I've heard stories where it didn't work. So I just was completely open, this might work, it might not. But literally that night I started getting really crampy and it just feels like period cramps. You just feel like you're kind of walking around cramping. But I was starting to feel different.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I think it worked. And so I stayed on my feet the whole rest of the night because I just wanted everything to kind of work its way down. I knew she was head down. She was pretty close. And so I was just honestly trying to work with my body to help it keep going into labor. And so I was at the farm after the doctor's appointment, just hanging out with the goats and the chickens and just the dogs.
Didn't you walk around a little bit too?
I walked around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then everything was normal, but we were both on our toes. Everything was packed. Her car seat was in the car. Our bags were in the car. Everything was ready.
Yeah.
but everything was normal that night. And we're like, we could have a baby tomorrow or literally next week. Like, it's so weird. You just don't know. But fast forward, I really couldn't sleep very well that night. And it had been that way for a couple nights, actually. I actually had slept really well the whole pregnancy, but the very end, I think it was probably nerves and like my body was like gearing up for it. So I just couldn't sleep. But
you got up a handful of times during the night, and every time you got up, I would wake up and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's happening? And
getting up to go. So obviously you have to like pee a lot more when you're like late in pregnancy. But every time I got up to go pee, it like hurt because I was like cramping, you know? So I was like, okay, this is like getting real because this didn't used to feel like this. So anyways, like I'm tossing and turning the whole night. 5 a.m. I hear and feel a pop. Like kind of like if you pop a ligament or like
you pop some sort of tendon.
Yeah. It just felt like that, but it doesn't hurt at all. You just kind of hear it more than you feel it. And I was like, oh, I've heard stories of like when your water breaks, it like pops. And so I stood up out of bed and then all the water like gushed out. And then
I remember watching you stand up too. Like I remember like I just kind of heard you just like scoot over and get out of bed, and then you stood up and then you just kind of sat there. Like you stood there at the side of the bed, and I looked over and I was like, are you all right? And you were like feeling the water coming out of you at that point.
Yeah, I was like, is this what it is? Because at first you like don't really know. So then I went to the bathroom and turned the light on, and I was like, it looks like I peed myself.
Jeez. Yeah, I remember that.
And then I peeked
came
around.
out and you showed me too.
Yeah, I was like, look. And I was like, I think my water broke. And then we just looked at each other and you're like, okay, it's go time. And
I was like,
yeah. So we called the midwife and she asks like health related questions, like what color is it? What, like how long ago? What do you feel now? Because they need to know that just for health reasons for the baby. Cause if it's like, yeah. So everything was normal. And she's like, all right, you guys can come on in. And so, yep. I was advised to eat breakfast, but I didn't because I was just like, I can't.
Well, also might have been a good thing that I don't know, but you ended up puking from your contractions.
Well, that was later. That was when we got to the hospital.
But I mean, it was kind of right when we got there. Like,
is that called triage? When you first get there and you're in a room.
The first room we got to clearly wasn't the room that we were going to be having the baby in.
I forget. I think it's called triage, but
it just felt like a waiting room.
Yeah.
Like a small waiting room.
So we get to the hospital. Everything was calm. Like I really wasn't contracting super bad yet. Like I know sometimes people's water breaks and then they immediately start having really painful contractions, but that didn't happen to me. Like we called the whole family on the way there and we were pretty calm and it was still dark out. And then we get to the hospital and I'm still like lighthearted, in a good mood. We're both excited. We're both tired.
Yeah.
But we get to this little room that they put you in first and they test your water to see like if it really was your water that broke. And then they take all your vitals and then they put the bands around your belly to take baby's heart rate and measure your contractions. Which
was the wildest thing ever.
In the first room?
They strapped on these things that just looked like a couple of round pieces of plastic that went over your belly. And then it literally just started showing when you were having a contraction and what the baby's heart rate was. Yeah. And you could hear the baby's heart rate in the room. They were playing it out loud.
Was that in the first room or the second room?
They had it on you the entire time.
Yeah. So,
and you just heard this.
Yeah, and she had a good heart rate the entire way through. So we were like,
kept it at like 130, 140 the whole time.
Yeah, we were really happy with that. But that room, when I first got there, we were in there for what, like an hour or a little over an hour?
I'd say so.
That was annoying a little bit, just because I was like, at first we were like, is this where I'm giving birth? Because it's a tiny room. And I could hear, do you remember that? We could hear other women like through the walls, like giving birth. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, now that I think about it though, They weren't.
Like they
could have just been having
struggling.
contractions.
I know.
And by the way, side note, I don't know what all contractions are like for everybody, but you weren't making any noise the entire time. And everybody
I was trying
pretty
really hard
stunned.
not to. I was just like,
Nurses
breathe.
were stunned at like how you were handling your contractions. Like you threw up a couple of times from the pain, but you were like, at the most, you were like humming.
yeah. Well, so we were in the first room, and then that's when I really started to realize like, oh, this is what contractions are. Because all my midwives, there's like a group of them, and like all throughout my pregnancy, I would rotate and see all three of them like throughout the time. But they all said like, you will know what a contraction is when you feel it. Like there's no, I think I'm having a contraction. No, you'll know. And so that was when I was like, okay, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And so you were just sitting in there with me like, I'm learning what contractions are for the first time in my life. And you're just sitting there like watching me go through it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that intense yet, but my body, they started to get really strong. And like it's not even like your body just throws up because it's like, it's just so strong. It's not, I don't really like, I've never thrown up because I've hurt so bad in my life. I think it just is like a thing that's just normal that comes with it. Like you're literally contracting. So your muscles are like, you're pushing something, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like your body is like, okay, we need to prepare for this. And that was crazy. It came out of nowhere too. Remember, I was like, get me a trash can. Blech.
Yeah. No, yeah. It was pretty casual all up until that moment. And then I was like, I was like, what do you mean? Because I didn't know you were going to throw up. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. But then watching you have contractions, all the while I was thinking about that show, I didn't know I was pregnant on TLC. And I'm like, that is complete BS. I was like, no, there's no way that you just have a baby. And
I still don't know. Because I've heard that that's true. I've heard that there's people I've heard there's people that really don't know. But I'm like, there was literal no
conditions. You couldn't be a functioning person, normal functioning person.
I don't know.
But but your contractions came on like right when we got to the hospital, because I think your body kind of figured out like, hey, we're in the place where we're gonna have the baby, so these contractions can start happening. Yeah.
And I do believe that your mentality, like, I mean, I'm obviously not an expert, but I would say your mentality is like 70% of your birth.
Yeah.
Like how relaxed you are, how calm you can stay, how much you can keep. It's really all about relaxing, because that's what helps you dilate. But I really do think like your mentality has so much more to do with how your baby comes into the world than you realize. And I wouldn't say I was like 100% prepared mentally at all. I wasn't even like 50% prepared. I didn't know how to prepare really, but like I did really try to stay positive and like stay peaceful and relaxed.
I think your mental fortitude during the whole thing was extraordinary.
Thank you.
And it was because I obviously was like, wow, you're doing really well. Like, you're not like yelling in pain, or you're not like panicking. At the deepest part of it, at the hardest part of it, your eyes were closed and you were inhaling deeply and exhaling and like having a low
and
hum.
That was when it was like really
at that
bad.
moment,
So
you were like,
that
give
was
me the epidural.
Yeah. So they moved us from triage finally, when I don't know what they wait on, if they have to like clean up a labor and delivery room and then they can move us in, or like if they have to take all of my vitals and just make sure everything's good with me.
Wasn't it? I think they checked you to see how many centimeters you were.
Yeah. Do they? Well, I don't know, because you can be in a labor and delivery room at 0.
Yeah.
Because people get induced. But anyways, we were in there for like an hour, maybe over an hour. And it was just you and I mainly. And like some nurses would come in and out like very seldomly. But then we finally moved to the labor and delivery room. And I walked there. I remember that.
Yes, you did. I remember that. I was like,
that was
this is crazy.
Good though. Like it's not impossible to do that. And I wasn't that dilated yet. But
you
I
were
was
like 2 centimeters or something.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, I walked there pretty slowly, but I was still able to like look around and talk to people and like smile and laugh, even though I was in pain. But eventually, after laboring for another hour or two?
I'd say when we got out of that room and into the delivery room.
Yeah.
It was probably 10 o'clock.
So it was like...
It was between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. I know that for certain.
Okay, so maybe 3 or 4 hours?
Yeah, because we got there at 6. So we were in that first room for a couple of hours.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
But then right when we got into that delivery room, that's when all the family got there.
Yeah.
And all the family started rotating in.
And I could talk to them. Yep. It was fine.
Having conversations.
Like... that everyone could tell when I was going through a contraction.
Yeah.
And then they could tell when it was over. And then I was like, okay. Hey, what's up? How you doing?
And then we even, like, to see if you can get a second wind, you took a shower.
Yeah.
And that really helped
so much. And I was still... So going into this whole thing, I guess I forgot to mention, I wanted to do 100% natural.
Mm-hmm.
But I always said it depends on how long I'm in labor. Because if I'm in labor for a really long time, then I probably would like to get the epidural because I don't want to be just 32 hours just laying there suffering, so tired. You know what I mean? So I was always open to the epidural, but I always kind of hoped my labor would be really fast so that I wouldn't have time to get the epidural, so I could just like dilate to 10 centimeters, push the baby out, boom.
Yeah.
But it did take a little longer.
Yeah.
And when you're going through that much pain and you don't know like how much longer it'll be, because sometimes you can get to like 5 centimeters and then not dilate any more than that. Mm-hmm. But I was so...
You got to 5 centimeters too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was still dilating, but at the point of 5 centimeters, I was in so much pain. Like, I fully shut down. Like, I stopped talking to people, couldn't open my eyes. All I could do is like try to focus on breathing. But my contractions were so close together, I barely had any like rest in between. Like they say, like, take your breaks, like breathe through the contraction. And then when it's over or it goes down, take your break. Mm-hmm. I really felt like I couldn't because my breaks were like 30 seconds. So I was kind of gearing up for the next one, like dreading the next one because it was going to happen so soon. So I was just in this state of kind of like constant pain, honestly. And at that point, I couldn't talk to anybody anymore. Like people would like say stuff to me and I was like, literally, why are you talking to me? Like I can't. You
entered this animal-like state.
Yeah. That's why. That makes so much sense to me now why women scream and moan because like
it's kind of
the pain kind of consumes you if you let it. Like all you can do is just like try your best to like live through it. And so sounds just happen.
Yeah.
Like honestly, you should really try to focus on breathing. And like, what is it? Lamaze? Yeah, Lamaze breathing. Stuff like that. And they encourage to do sounds because that helps you breathe. But I mean, there's no reason to scream. There's no reason to like have a blood curdling. I don't judge anyone that has done that, but there's no reason for it. Like you can control. That's my Gatorade.
I love you.
I'm the one that's breastfeeding. I
you.
Need all of it. You literally always drink all my stuff.
I bought 3 blue Gatorades
and they're all mine. You can't have them.
Fellas, I will also give my tips and advice at the end of this podcast about what to do with your newly mothered wife.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, okay, so we're kind of skipping around, but we get to the new room. I labor, I don't even know how many more hours, but it like when you think the contractions are bad, they get worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, okay, I literally can't function. It gets worse after that. And you're like, what?
Yeah. And then you called in the epidural right after that.
Yeah.
And that changed
because
everything.
I didn't want it to be too late and then have to like push her out with that much. I just realized like, okay, this is way more intense than I thought. Like, this is just like they kept saying, what's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? I would say 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was just the most pain I've ever felt in my life. Not to scare anybody. It's not a scary thing. It hurts, but it's not, you don't need to have fear with your pain.
I bet it's probably not like a pain of you're like, oh, this could kill me. Like, or like,
it's not that.
This is like an exercise pain. There's a difference between pain and injury almost.
Yeah. It's like, it's not an exercise pain. The exercise pain can help you though, because it can help your mental fortitude, like you said, just like keep your mind in it even when it hurts and like push through it.
Yeah.
That can really help you, but it's like a completely different kind of pain that I could ever describe. But anyways, like before I hit 5 centimeters, when we were in the labor and delivery room, I think, were we listening to music at that point?
Yeah, we had the music on, and
yeah,
we had it on for a while, but
that was really good. It helped relax me a lot. Took a shower. That was so needed, so good. And you stood there right there with me. And then finally I was just like laying in bed, and at that point I couldn't even move anymore. I don't know how some women can like walk around. I just don't get that. I couldn't. I was like, holy cow, I can't. I'm going to pass out. Yeah. So I was just laying in the bed, and then I made my decision. I was like, yeah, I want that epidural. And that was really hard because they made me like move and stuff. You have to like sit on the edge of the bed and bend over so they can put the needle in your back. And I was contracting. And when you're contracting, you don't want to be touched or moved or like jostled. And they had to do tons of stuff to me. And I was just like, oh my God, everyone stop touching me. But yeah, so I got the epidural, and like 20 minutes after that, maybe almost immediately, actually, I like opened my eyes and I noticed like who was in the room, and I was talking to them, and then
we got back to casual conversation.
Yeah, peace just like folded over us like a blanket, and I was just like laughing and smiling again, and like, I mean, the relief. It was so crazy, and I was like, gosh, I don't know how women in the past did this.
I was just like, welcome back.
Yeah.
You know, because you had been somewhere else. But what was also crazy about that was they talked about how quickly you'll dilate after that because you relax.
You can or you can't.
Everyone's
different.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
She said some women, they stop dilating, and some women, it helps them dilate even more because it relaxes them.
Well,
and that's what happened to me.
They checked you. So you had been 5 centimeters. It had taken you almost 10 hours to get 3 more centimeters. And then 20 minutes later, they checked you and you were at 9 centimeters.
Yeah.
And it was like 1 more centimeter to go time.
Yeah.
And that was
going
to be
so
like
excited.
a matter of minutes. And so like an hour later, we started pushing.
Yeah.
And, I'll let you tell that part, and then I'll talk about
the pushing part.
I'll talk about what I was feeling during that moment.
What about the pushing part?
Just so for me, when the nurses came in, Danielle, the midwife, came in, and they were like, all right, we're going to start pushing. This like palpable wave of like heat and pressure came over me, where I was like this
I wish people could like,
I was like, this baby is gonna happen. Like
I wish people could see your like reactions and stuff.
it was, I mean, but it was like a thing where I was like, I can't believe we're doing this. I feel like I'm back in like intramural basketball at like the championship basketball game. Like how much pressure I was feeling, where like everything was riding on this type deal. And I'm helping you push. I was like holding one of your legs, and one of the nurses was holding the other leg.
Yeah, because I couldn't feel them.
Right.
So they had to like move
and Danielle
everything.
was kind of facilitating everything. But I remember.
Just side note, I was really scared about like having to reveal so much of my body to like a room full of people. I was like, that was like one of the things I was actually not looking forward to. I was like, yeah, contractions come. That's part of it. But that was one of the things I actually was not looking forward to, was like, gosh, everyone's going to be like staring at my crotch. Like,
Small detail.
You just get used to it, and you just realize they do this for a living. They see this multiple times a day.
We even had a nurse in there that I grew up with.
Yeah, she asked if she could be in there with us, and we were like, yeah, I was fine with it. But that was really cool, just having like someone that we knew be in there. And like, she didn't get to watch Cadence be born because she had the like shift change happened, and like 10 minutes later Cadence popped out.
Yeah, unfortunately. But
yeah,
on top of that as well, you had asked my mom as well to be in the delivery room, and that just, I
realized, okay, so the whole time I was like, okay, natural birth. I had this whole birth plan. I wanted it to be just you and I, because I thought this is going to be like a very intimate thing for you and I. But as I was going through it, I needed support of women that had gone through it before me. And when your mom came in just to pop in to say hi and like see how everyone was doing, I realized like how much I needed her in there. And like she walked in for the first time, and remember I started crying because I was so relieved that she walked in, and like she didn't even say anything. Like she just walked over to the bedside and just hugged me, and I just held on to her and started crying because I was like, it wasn't because I was just in pain. I was, but it was like more the relief of having her there. I started crying. And then I realized like I need her in here. And so I asked last minute, I was like, can Kathy stay in here? And then she started crying.
She just started tearing up all over the place.
I was like, I need her. Because she just knew what to do. Like, you didn't know. You've never ever been a part of anything like that. So she started getting like wet washcloths and like putting them on my forehead and my neck, and just like she could tell when a contraction was coming. And like she just knew what to do and like knew what to say. And
I was like, do you want me to turn the music up or turn it down?
No, you were fine. You were just, you stood there and like held me, and you were perfect. But like, even if you were a part of 10 births, I don't think that you would know what to do as much as a woman.
I wouldn't know what you're feeling.
Yeah, like Kathy knew. Yeah. So that just was like the biggest blessing ever. And like, side note, I prayed a lot about like Cadence's birth and like that day and the whole process. And one of the biggest things that I prayed was that God would show up and be a mother to me in the labor and delivery room, because I don't really have like the strongest relationship with my mom right now, just because of her health issues and what she's going through in life. Like, I wish it were different, but it can't be. And she just can't be there for me, and she can't be there for you. And she's just a very distant character in our lives right now. And she, for those of you that like are curious, I mean, it's basically like she has dementia. Basically, it's not fully diagnosed, but it's like that. It's pretty much like that's what it is. And so she's very confused about stuff and emotionally distant, like doesn't really know how to connect to people anymore. So it's very awkward and weird.
And just to reiterate too, like we can sound a little bit like we're more disappointed than sympathetic when we're saying this, but it's brought on by alcoholism.
Yeah.
And it's something that,
so it's a very unique,
it's not a
condition, honestly.
Yeah, it's not very much age related or genetic related. Like this was,
she damaged her brain,
lifestyle choices that brought it upon herself.
Drank too much.
Yeah.
And she still is drinking, and so it's just a downward spiral. But even if she weren't drinking, though, we still probably wouldn't have had her in the labor because she's just so far gone. It's like, even if she were sober, she would not be a comforting presence at all. So I wanted, there's a verse that's like, comfort with the comfort that you've been comforted with. And I wanted to be like, when Cadence was born, I wanted to receive her fully and just be like, I'm your mom. Like I wanted this beautiful initiation into motherhood, and I wanted to fully embrace my daughter as a mother. And I felt like I needed a motherly presence in the room to remind me like what it's like to have a mother, so that I could comfort Cadence right when she was born as her mother. So I just prayed like, God, I pray that you would just be a tangible motherly presence in the room to me, so that I could like give that to Cadence right when she's born. And the way that God answered that prayer was in a very tangible way. Like I was kind of just praying it like, maybe he'll just like make me feel like he's there, or like, you know what I mean? Like maybe I'll just know, and I'll have a peace that he's there, and like he's watching over me just like my mom would. Yeah. But God sent your mom. Yeah. And like said, no, you can have a real human. And I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but I just prayed, God, like I want a motherly presence, and I want you to be that presence. But he sent your mom saying like, here's the motherly presence that you prayed for and asked for. And it just, I immediately noticed it when it happened. I was like, this is the Lord. Like, this is exactly what I prayed for. Yeah. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. Like how sometimes he answers prayer like in a way that you don't expect, but it's like always kind of better. It's like, wow, I wasn't expecting that, but that's like better than what I would have wanted. Yeah. And then from there, we proceeded to push until actually Danielle had to call in the doctor, because we pushed for 2 hours. Yeah. And Cadence was face up and stayed in the birth canal, like in the same spot. Apparently you all saw her. And you guys were like, I can see her head. Like I can see it. And I was like, are you kidding? I got to see what was going on. And it was still so bizarre. Like, I thought she was so much closer, but we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and she stayed in the same spot. Yeah. It was just this, it was like, I mean, she was right there, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, you've got to. And trust me, I was pushing as hard as I possibly could. Yeah. And you know this because I do know this. You saw lots of things. I did. Indeed, I did. Everyone in the room saw lots of things. And you were the most beautiful that you had ever been in those moments. You're the sweetest. You kept saying that to me, and then they like pulled away the little sheet that's like right there, and I just saw like, oh, that's poop. Yeah. You like kept asking me the whole time. You're like, am I doing that? Yeah. And I was like, you said no, and I was like, really? No. Really? I was like shocked. I was like, wow, that's awesome. I'm not pooping. Yeah. And they pulled away they like cleaned me up or whatever. And I was like, Oh,
and then you looked at me and you were
God.
like, you said I wasn't pooping. And I'm like, what is poop? What's poop? You know? Because I was
did
like,
say
I'm not
that.
going to tell you like, hey,
I
you're
was
pooping.
like, oh my God. Good thing everyone's wearing masks in here. So,
Which, by the way, just since this is an honest podcast,
are you going to bring up the thing I think you're going to bring up?
no. I'm literally just telling husbands for future reference. When you're in there with your wife, like, get ready for just all of that, you know? Like, get ready for the things
the fluids and
there's going to be blood too.
yeah.
And like, that is,
I thought you were going to talk about the amniotic fluid or whatever that, like, you just kept wearing a mask because you were like, nah.
oh yeah, no, that just caught me in a weird way. Like, I'm pretty good about that stuff, but I just like, I don't know. I felt the need to throw on a mask because
chew gum.
and chew gum because I was like, I don't know why everybody else isn't freaking out because like it was just something I had never like encountered or smelled.
Yeah.
You know, but it was like,
which I couldn't smell anything.
Right. But it was like the nurses, everybody in there was fine. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, but I was the only man in there too. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, maybe I'm just like, maybe I'm not processing something. Like my brain is like rejecting whatever is like happening. Cause I'm like, I'm good around blood. Like the blood actually didn't faze me.
Yeah.
But like husbands out there, future fathers, you're just going to see these things and like, you'll initially have this response of like, ooh, that's not supposed to happen type deal. But it's like, relax, let the nurses and the doctors say what is supposed to happen and not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Because there were so many times I wanted to comment too, where I was like, hey, what's going on? Or like how the midwife was trying to help you have the baby.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you can say it.
Yeah, so
without
she
being
was
graphic. But.
Yeah, so she had her fingers in you, basically, like trying to help Cadence come out. But the way that she was pulling on you, like her arms were shaking, which
I couldn't feel. I couldn't see anything they were doing. Couldn't feel anything. So there was so much you told me after we had the baby and they moved us to postpartum, like after the whole shebang. You were telling me like your side of the birth story, and I was like, "Shut up!"
I was being so calm and collected like that whole time. But then when we got into the postpartum wing, I was like, "You've got to know, you've got to know what was going on." There was some, and then of course after Danielle, the midwife, just said like, "This isn't going to work. We're going to have to get the doctor in here. The doctor may use a vacuum or forceps, but if that doesn't work, you're going to have to get a C-section."
Well, she didn't want to force me to get one. She was like, I don't want to make you get anything you don't want to do. So
exactly.
But we can try forceps or vacuum.
Yeah. But the doctor came in though, and she just kind of had this demeanor of like, she was just going to give you one shot basically. And she got the forceps out. And for anybody that doesn't know, it's literally these metal salad spoons. I mean, long story short,
that's kind of what they look like. That's not literally what they are.
Yeah, they grasp the head, baby's head, and then they try to pull the baby out. Well, I remember, getting close with you, and I was like, this has to happen now, or they're going to give you a C-section.
Well, I was pushing like so hard for so long, and I wasn't super tired, honestly. Everyone said I was a really good pusher. So it wasn't my fault. It was just her position. Yeah. She was face up, and babies are supposed to be facing down, like toward your spine, I'm pretty sure. That's just how they come. That's how God created it, how they're supposed to come out. But Cadence was face up, and Danielle said she even tried to turn her face and she turned it back. Yeah. Because I think her shoulders were positioned in a way that it was uncomfortable for her to move her head another way. So she was like, nope, and moved it back. But anyways, yeah, they Where were we going with that?
Well, so the doctor comes in and pulls her out in one pull with the forceps.
I had to push with them. So she put the forceps in. You gave me that pep talk, like, this has to be it. Like,
this has to be it, or it's going to be a C-section.
Yeah, you were like, you have to give this your all. You were like coaching me. You were like being a literal coach. Like, you got to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I pushed, and then out popped her head. And that was crazy. I saw that. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
There's her head. Like, her face.
Yeah. Well, I was like giving a play-by-play too. I was like, oh, I see the head. I see that. And then it goes.
Yeah, it literally popped. It was like, pop.
Oh. I remember going like, oh. And then she just ditches the forceps and then just
and they pushed her out. They told me to push again. So I pushed, out popped her head, and apparently she was using quite some force to get her head out.
Not gonna lie, right when I saw her head, I legit go, oh my God, our baby is from Ancient Aliens. Because of how like cone shaped and like pointed her head was. No. I was like, oh, she's an alien.
I thought she looked cute.
And they
like her little
threw the
face.
sock hat on her so quickly, and they were like, that's gonna help her head round out. I was like,
they said that?
Yeah, I'll go, yeah, let's hope so. Because if she grows up with that, I mean.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that. I knew that their heads kind of go back to normal. But like her head literally popped out, and then they told me to push again. So for those of you that don't know, when you're having a contraction, you use your contractions when you push.
It's like you're riding the wave.
Yeah, you're supposed to push with your contractions, which I can't imagine natural birth without an epidural doing that. Holy cow.
Yeah.
But so another answered prayer, I prayed that my epidural would be at the right amount where I could still sort of feel my contraction so I would know when to push. Because it could be super strong where you don't feel anything at all, and the nurses just look at the monitor and tell you when to push.
Yeah.
Or you can kind of feel when a contraction's coming and say, okay, here comes a contraction, I want to push.
Yeah.
So that was an answered prayer. I could feel like when my contractions were coming. I can't believe she's been asleep this long. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But
you guys are blessed
to
have us on a podcast
for like 2 hours before this.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I felt a contraction, and then Dr. Graves is the one that like came in, because my midwife can't technically do that. She can't do what doctors can do.
Yeah.
She can do a lot, obviously, but like couldn't physically use forceps to get the baby out. So they just called the doctor on call, which was Dr. Graves, who I had met before, which was really cool. But she I said, okay, I feel a contraction. They're like, all right, let's use it. And so when you push 3 times for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Each contraction. So you hold your breath and just push with all your might, and then they count to 10. You take a little break, do it again, take a little break, do it again. And that's all in one contraction. So yeah, 3 times for 10 seconds. So that's like what pushing during a contraction is like. So the contraction came on, I pushed, and then out popped her head, and then I took a breath, and then I pushed again, and then out came her whole freaking body. And like, oh, that was actually a feeling that I did not.
Her whole body was like,
I did not like that. That was a weird. Dr. Graves like pulled her out, like pulled her out, and that was wild because it felt like my insides were coming out.
Yeah,
I didn't like that feeling at all. I was like, ooh, that was weird.
But I saw her head, and then I couldn't believe. Well, first off, I couldn't believe that's how big her head was, and then I also just couldn't believe that's how big the body was.
Yeah, because I didn't look like I was holding that big of a baby. Yeah,
but she came out, and I was like, whoa, hey. I was like, how did that happen? How did that happen?
Even looking at her now, she's 8 pounds right now. Some women give birth to like 9 or 10-pound babies.
My mom gave birth to a 9-pound, 8-ounce baby.
Was that
me.
Gracie?
That was me.
Really?
I was 9 pounds, 8 ounces. And you were 5 pounds, 7 ounces. Your
mom's, 5 pounds, 12 ounces. You always get 12, the ounces wrong.
You were still in the 5 pound zone.
Yeah, I was
tiny. And your mom said you just slid out, basically.
Yeah, but after my birth, I'm like, I wonder if my mom even really remembers, like, if that's really accurate. Because she kind of skipped the whole part where my umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck.
Yeah.
And they had to, like, cut that while I was still in the birth canal.
Wow. Yeah. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
but,
excuse the yawn.
I mean, she just said, like, yeah, you basically just slid right out. But there's, like, a few more details that I'm like, I think that you're getting a little foggy.
Yeah.
But
I thought about that. I thought about, man, I hope the umbilical cord isn't around her neck. You know?
Yeah. So everything how you were born, Cadence did.
Yep.
So you were face up when you were born, and you were a forceps delivery, which is exactly what Cadence was doing. And even like in the like prenatal routine checkups before, my midwives knew that she was face up because they could feel where her head was, and they could feel that it was like pushed more toward the front, meaning she was like looking up.
Yeah.
And they're like, she needs to tuck her head down so that she can come out.
Yeah.
And they recommended like a maternity strap or like a belly band type thing.
It was a belly band.
But I was like, I just don't want to spend the money on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she came out exactly how you did. But it was a way less labor. Like your mom was in labor with you for 3 days, and I got to the hospital at 6 a.m. and she came out at 7:47 p.m.
Yeah.
So that I consider myself very lucky, very blessed to have had it all in one day.
Yeah.
Yep. But
yeah, that was. And
she came out and they put her on my chest. Well, they wiped her off a little bit because she had some blood on her.
Oh, she had blood all over her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So
that was the part where I was like, because it was
all
over her, and the doctor was like casually, hey baby, we can't let you go to daddy and mommy with blood all over you. And I'm like,
yeah, so they wiped her off, then they put her on my, like, as soon as they pulled her completely out, I lost it. Yep. Like, I started bawling because I was so just like, oh my gosh, she's real and she's
by
mine.
The way, for everyone that subscribes to the YouTube channel, the birth video of us holding her for the first time, her being born and all that, that'll be available on YouTube for our birth vlog.
There's no graphic content, right?
No. It's going to be, it'll just basically cut straight to her being on your chest and basically just.
And me crying and you.
Me holding the both of you.
I truly didn't see you cry. You said you cried. I didn't see it.
I cried. I didn't cry. Like tears didn't fall down my face, but like there was water all in my eyes. It just didn't collect into a tear. You think I'm so emotionless, but then you saw me cry.
Yeah.
Not long after that, though.
Yeah, that'll have to be like.
That's another story.
Part 2.
For another time.
Yeah.
That is we'll talk about the days after. We'll just talk about that. That'll be another podcast. Postpartum needs to be its own podcast.
Yeah.
In all honesty, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we got a lot to say about that.
Yeah. Just not about me, but more about like life with a newborn. And I've never taken care of a newborn before. I've taken care of kids.
Yeah.
Like the youngest I've ever taken care of like consistently for a long time was 6 months.
Yeah.
And so I was terrified of newborns because I'm like, they're so wobbly and fragile, and like I don't know what to do with them. Like I don't know what they need. Like at least a 6-month-old baby, you could tell like, okay, you're hungry. Okay, you're gassy. Okay, you're tired.
We were like, they were decommissioning us, letting us go home after 48 hours. And I was like, what are we going to do?
Like, what do I do with this
how are we going to, like, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like, we legit don't know anything.
Yeah. But when it's your kid, though, you just, like, something comes over you where you, like, do know what to do. You know what I mean?
Now it's like
you don't know what to do, but it's like something happens where you will do literally anything for your own kid. So you just somehow figure it out. It's like the Lord just like drops all this knowledge in your head and you're like, I don't know how that got there, but for some reason I know what to do right now.
I somehow know how to rock her so well.
Yeah.
To get her to calm down.
Yeah.
You know?
But what was I going to say? So yeah, they put her on our chest, my chest, and you just immediately put your hand on her. That was really cute. You like...
I had my hand on the back of your head, and then I had my hand on her. And I remember in that moment thinking, my entire world is in my arms right now. And for me, it was like, I couldn't hear anything else.
Yeah.
I couldn't see anything else.
Nurses were saying stuff. The room was actually chaotic.
The room was full of people.
The world stopped for us as soon as they put her on my chest. But everyone else in the room was still hustling, bustling, like
laughing.
My placenta was coming out or came out. I don't even know. I never even
saw it.
Yeah. I saw it. Like she had it in a bucket and was like looking at it because you have to make sure all the pieces are there.
Right.
But I was also getting stitched up. They were looking at my placenta. People were cleaning the baby.
Yeah.
People were on the monitors. Like there was just so much happening. Yeah.
And I forgot she was in the room.
Yeah. There was so much happening, but literally the whole world stopped for us. And we were just looking at her. And she was just like
I could
crying.
Not believe
it was so
she
cute.
Was real.
Yeah. I was really thankful she cried too. Right when she was born. She was like, "Blah!" And I was like, oh, thank God.
When she came out, it was shock for me. And I'm like, what is that? I was like, what is that? And then I heard her go like that. And I felt my heart, like in the movie The Grinch, like just expand
my
like
heart
3
grew
times.
3 sizes.
Yeah. And I could like water shot into my eyes immediately. And I was like, I like felt like this like knife of love in my chest.
Yep.
And then she just was right in front of me and I was just holding the both of you. And I remember my hands and my arms, I felt like I got so big and just like
bear hugged us.
Just was holding the both of you.
He's
so
being really cute right now, by the way.
Yeah. You can see it on the camera pretty well. But yeah.
And I don't even know, like there was actually some stuff that the nurses said that I don't remember, but looking back at the video, I'm like, whoa, they actually said that. Like this will be the story that we'll have to say later, but when babies are born, apparently they swallow some of the amniotic fluid.
We both just had a huge yawn.
Drew yawned and then it made me yawn. But babies swallow the amniotic fluid and some of them can work it out, like they just digest it or they just cough it up and it's fine. But they said that as they were like flushing her eyes out and her mouth, getting all that like vernix stuff. I don't even know if that's how you say it, but it's like that cheesy stuff that's on babies when they're born.
Yeah.
They wipe that off and they do a lot. They give the babies like shots. They prick their heel and get some blood. They do a lot. And it's just like, ooh, what's happening? And then, yeah, so she actually said that. And I don't remember her saying that at all. But the next day, something happened with Cadence where, like, that's exactly what the nurse was talking about that I didn't remember her saying.
Yeah. And that'll be for the next podcast episode.
Yeah, because that's like a whole story. But, I mean, spoiler alert, like...
It was a big scare.
She literally almost died.
Yeah.
And... Oh, I hate even saying that. I don't like saying that.
But like, I hate saying that, but that's literally the truth.
Yeah.
But tune in for that episode.
I don't even want to.
It won't be all about that, but we'll talk about just basically what it was like in postpartum.
Yeah.
In the postpartum wing, and then going home.
So horrible.
But
yeah, then they weighed her, they measured her.
17 pounds.
Oh my god.
Good Lord. 7 pounds, 15 ounces.
Yeah, I was 7
1
pounds,
ounce off.
14.8 ounces, but they just rounded up and said 15.
Yeah, I was 1 ounce off.
Yeah, you're
I called
close.
8 pounds. I called 8 pounds even.
Yeah.
And then my cousin Alex goes, I'm just going to call what the date is. I'm going to call it 7 pounds, 22 ounces. And I was like,
and we're all like, oh.
I was like, who's going to tell him?
So really 8 pounds.
It would have been like 8 pounds, 4 ounces.
22 minus
or 6 ounces.
16. Yeah, I don't know. But
yeah.
That was funny.
Anyways.
Oh, okay. We have to tell the funny. There were actually some like hilarious things that you did in the labor and delivery room. And one of them that I'm thinking of. Okay. There were like lots of funny things that happened. But like there was some stuff I said while pushing. Like you push so hard, you feel like your eyeballs are going to pop out of your sockets. So I was like saying like, oh, I just hope that my eyeballs stay inside of my skull. And then like everyone laughed. And then there was one point the doctor had come in because they were going to do the forceps. So this was like crunch time. This was like really close to when she was like right before she was born. And the beds in the hospital have like little arrows where you can adjust like how high you're sitting and like your back and like the recline and stuff like that. Yeah. And so the doctor is like examining me and seeing like how she's going to do it. And Drew is leaning on the bed. He leans on the arrow and makes the bed go down. And so the doctor's like, okay. And then it's like going down with the bed, like trying to look at me. And everyone's like laughing.
And she finally goes, hey, Dad, you're leaning on the button there. And I was
you didn't even know.
Yeah, you were like going down.
The whole bed is like going down.
I didn't even realize it was me doing it. I was like, yeah, she's just lowering the bed. And then she was like, it's you. And I'm like, oh.
But everyone was like laughing so hard after that. Like everyone, even the doctor. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was cracking some jokes in there too.
Yes, you were.
But so yeah, I mean, that's our.
I don't remember what else was funny that happened.
The salad spoon thing where I was like, they were saying your canal's really narrow, and I'm like, I'm just picturing Cadence just like, just get me out of here. Like,
I don't remember that.
Everyone started dying laughing, but then like I just kept saying like
you were
funny
making
things,
a lot of comments, yeah.
And I was like trying to lighten the mood.
Well, I mean, it wasn't like heavy or dark ever.
No, it wasn't, but it was just kind of like in between contractions.
It got mundane at times. Yes. Like we were like, okay, like when is this going to happen? Like we wanted to push, I'd say for like an hour before a single nurse came in. But remember there was one nurse, what was her name again? That we talked to like almost the entire time.
Oh,
like
was
we
it
just
like Jacqueline or Jasmine or
no. I feel like Janine? It started with an M. No.
I thought it started with a J.
Marine.
Is
that right?
Yes, it was actually. I do remember that now pretty clearly. And I'm just like, uh-oh.
Okay. Anyways, but we were just hanging out, like talking about everything.
Horses.
Like, we talked about horses. We talked about... What else did we talk about?
Y'all were pretty similar.
Yeah.
Y'all just talked about stuff.
She was just so sweet and caring.
Super sweet.
And after our hospital experience with Norton's, we literally are like, I think nurses are angels.
Yes. Big shout out to nurses.
Yeah.
Especially women and children's nurses.
We were like
I felt
astounded at how
like a fool next to them compared to like what they knew and their skills and their knowledge. Can't.
They're just so caring. Like
they're excellent.
honestly, I literally always judged when people are like, yeah, I'm going into nursing. I'm like, I'm going into nursing.
You're going to be a nurse for 2 years and then you're going to get into a
I
multi-level
was always like,
marketing
why
scheme?
does everyone want to go into nursing? Like, I never viewed it as like, oh, wow, you're so selfless and caring. I never thought of it that way. I was like, I don't know why being a nurse is such a fad.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I thought about it. Like,
Yeah.
why does everyone and their mother want to be a nurse? I literally didn't understand.
You realize they're making a career out of being motherly, almost.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, just after my experience, I realized like, oh, there are actually nurses out there that do this because they literally care so much about helping other people.
Yeah.
And they actually really are selfless.
Yeah.
And I just thought nursing was nursing. I didn't think like, oh, wow, you're just such a selfless person to pursue that career. I didn't think of it that way. But now I'm like, there are some nurses that I'm like, okay, why are you a nurse? Because
Right.
you're a B word.
Yeah.
But like the girl that was in the first room with us before labor and delivery, like literally asking me thousands of questions while I'm contracting and not cracking a smile, not being nice at all. And I was just like, I am in labor and you're being rude. Like,
She
what?
was like asking you mid-contraction too.
Yeah, like,
You were like closing your eyes and she's like, so what is this? And
yeah.
you know.
Just like some people, I'm like, why are you in this profession? But majority of the nurses that we came into contact with, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think that you are sent from heaven above, because they just, I don't get it. Like, they literally care for you so thoroughly, and like, they will look at your body, like every square inch of your body if they need to, and they don't shame you, and they are not embarrassed about it. Like, they'll do it. Like, Sylvia literally helped me go to the bathroom like multiple times because you know what I mean? I was just like, I wouldn't want to do that, but you're doing that for me.
Yeah.
I was just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And then the nurses with Cadence the next day, like when all that stuff happened with her, they were like ready and they cared.
Yeah.
And they did everything that they had to do to like make sure she was okay.
We'll save that for the next episode.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
Having a baby is amazing.
Let's do it again.
But
Let's wait a couple years.
like, having a baby is amazing, like the process of birth, but also having a baby, like like just holding her right now. And it's not like, it's just not like having, it's not like other kids. It's like so different when it's your own.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like we're still embracing this new life. Like,
My advice to husbands and dads, sorry.
Okay.
Be as involved as you possibly can. It's worth it.
yeah, even if you have like a job, and because I have a job too. Like, we both have a full-time job. It's just very different.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've done great. You've been so helpful.
You've been doing amazing, obviously. And it's been the most taxing for you. But you've been doing it.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty crazy. We really do need to do a postpartum episode and just talk about everything that comes after. Because there's a lot that I didn't realize. Like, everyone always said like breastfeeding's really hard, but I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh, I see what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, having Cadence is the best thing ever, and she's so cute, and she's been so good during this whole podcast. So kind of nervous for tonight because she's been sleeping a lot.
Might be party time right after this.
I know.
Well, we're going to get to bed though.
Yeah.
It's about 10:40. So
Oof.
Well, people, that's our birth story. We were gone for a little bit. Now we're back. Thank you for tuning back in and being so patient with us. And we love you guys.
Thank you if you've gotten this far, like listening to our voices. We probably sound so tired and like monotone, but thank you for even getting this far. And yeah, if you have not given birth and you're pregnant, I speak blessing over you. Like, there's nothing to fear. There's absolutely nothing to fear.
Yeah.
Like, you're made for this. Your body is made for this. It's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant experience, but that doesn't mean you have to be scared of it.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely not. You go through unpleasant experiences all the time and you're not scared of it. So, like, yeah, just run this race with endurance.
Yeah.
And, yeah, just be open for the day of, and like, there will be things that you think that you don't want that you might want, and there will be things that you think you want that you realize like the day of, nope, I don't want that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like me with my mother-in-law, like I wanted it to just be Drew and I, and then I realized like, nope, I need more support in here. And so yeah, just trust the Lord and trust God that he understands what you'll need and even what you want, and just look to him, because he's your help. He's your helper through birth, and then he's your helper when you have a baby.
Yep.
But yeah, no fear in the name of Jesus. That's my main thing, is like, I feel like a lot of women can be super scared and like anticipate birth and like just let fear overcome them. But there is no need for fear. So I just speak peace over you and just pray that you would receive Jesus's peace.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. That's our birth story.
Yep.
We'll see you next time.